Welcome to the Digital Tourism Show. And in this episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Andrew McCluskey of Open Road Scotland. Now, Andrew has run a massively successful business offering campervan tours and rentals here based in Scotland. And he's going to be discussing how he's grown his business using minimum staff and how things like the North Coast 500 has affected his business. And we're going to be doing things slightly different with this episode because unfortunately during the recording of this episode I was taken unwell, and Jessica, who's my managing director here at the Tourism Marketing Agency, will be conducting the interview for me. So for a change, you'll be hearing her tones rather than my own. I hope you enjoy the video.
So, to get started, what got you into the tourism industry?
Well, it was a bit of a career break for me, or a career change. So I was coming out of an old kind of corporate lifestyle that I wasn't too happy with, and I basically just saw a little gap in the market. I'd been on holiday in France in the Pyrenees, and I'd hired a motorhome there. Excellent. And very similar landscape to the Highlands in Scotland, and just really appealed to me. So I had a little look into it when I got back, how to set up a campervan business, and off I went. That was it, really.
Excellent. That easy.
Well, there's a few more challenges, but
there.
we got there in the end.
So you've been running for 13 years. What do you link your success to as your journey has continued?
I think we've got a really personal service at our company, or my company, and I try and get that across with all my staff as well. Each customer really gets treated, with a great personalised service as much as possible, and that feeds back to us in our reviews as well. So I've tried not to get too big, so I don't lose that personal touch with people. So you could get dealt with by email. There's personal touch there. All the staff that work, that hand over the vans, that meet and greet the customers, they've all got a good ethos as to how our inbound tourists should be treated. So I think the personal touch definitely helps, and then just each year gradually adding to what we're offering, improving our offering, and trying not to stay still. So each year we've always tried to put new van types on, put different tour types on, make different short break offerings, improve the website, just all that continuous improvement stuff that small businesses need to keep doing, I think.
Definitely, and you've got some incredible videos on your website.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time over the years just trying to improve the website every year organically. So first of all, it was getting nice images on there. Last few years we've tried very much to concentrate on getting good video footage on there. People, I think now when they go onto websites, it's almost like you're looking at a TV. You want to see exactly what you're going to be experiencing, the places that you're planning to visit. You want to see some good imagery of that, some good footage. You want to see inside the van that you're going to hire. So all that kind of stuff really, really helps.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone's not had a chance to look at the website, it's on the home screen. There's a really amazing video. Don't look here because it plays sound, which gave me a shock once. But yeah, no, it's an absolutely beautiful little video that they've got on there. So obviously Scotland's kind of had its ups and downs as far as the tourism industry is concerned. What have you found over the last few years, and has there been any kind of challenges that you've had to try and face?
I think the general trend's been really positive since I started. Tourism's really taken off in the last 10 years. With that, it's brought a lot of opportunities for businesses like myself, but it's brought a lot of competition into the market as well. So when I started, there was probably only 2 or 3 operators of a reasonable size, whereas now we've got at least 8 or 10 large operators. We've got some international chains that have moved in, like Just Go Motorhomes from Australia and Apollo Motorhomes. These are kind of worldwide brands. Yeah. So it's becoming a lot more competitive. And then you've got other platforms like now, like the almost Airbnb type platforms for motorhomes, where people, if you own a camper van, you can put it up for rent, you know, if you've got spare weeks. So it's quite competitive. You're competing now against a quite differing number of outlets, but still, I would say overall it's been positive. There's a lot more visitors coming. There's a few challenges with that as well. Infrastructure could do with being improved in Scotland. Certainly our road networks could do with a lot of improvement, and things like facilities for camper vans and additional campsites and waste disposal outlets and things like that, particularly for some of the more remote locations, which is the whole point in hiring a camper van. If you think about it, you want to go visit the far reaches of Scotland, but when you get there, you do want somewhere where you can get rid of your waste, park up for the night safely. So definitely infrastructure could do with getting improved.
Yeah, I imagine that that's a big problem just across the board, even for tour operators, so not even specifically for motorhomes. So obviously you do the kind of camper van style, and you're moved into a lot of different areas now. What area do you find the most challenging or the most interesting? So between all of your three different kind of main avenues.
It's still the management of the motorhomes and camper vans. It's great because people love it as a holiday type, but as you grow your fleet, you've got you've got multiple issues there. You've got to look after your fleet, make sure it's well serviced, deal with breakages, deal with crashes, deal with bad drivers. So yeah, running it operationally can be challenging. Other stuff like the tours are relatively easy because you're taking people on guided tours. That's all set up beforehand. You know what you're doing there. You're in control of that.
Yeah.
But with the rental side of things, you're handing over your capital items over to someone and just hoping they'll look after them for you.
Yeah.
So that can be a bit of a headache.
With your tours, do you get to take people out as well?
I do the odd one, yeah, I do the odd one. I've got a few freelance guys that work with me who I don't directly employ on a full-time basis, but they come in and they'll do tours as and when required.
Excellent. I think that we've had a few conversations already among the groups about the Route 500.
Yeah.
How has that worked for you from a marketing perspective, and then also what are the kind of problems that you found also by just having that there? Has it had its day?
Well, it's been hugely successful, obviously. I mean, pretty much for a year or two there, everyone that was contacting us was saying, oh, we're going to come and do the North Coast 500. Prior to that, everyone that was coming wanted to go and visit Skye. The West Coast's still really, really popular, but the NC 500 for the last couple of years has really been a big driver for people coming in. They've been sold this great vision of it's essentially just a road that's always been there, but it was a bit of genius marketing, and it's certainly done my business no harm. Whether it's had its day, I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if it'll continue to grow the same way it's had, but it's still it is stunning.
Yeah.
It's spectacular. I think as long as some development of infrastructure goes hand in hand with it, like I talked about earlier, then there's no reason why it shouldn't continue to be a big draw for people.
And do you do anything specifically to kind of market to that audience, or are you kind of like stay away and you're happy to get the business?
We've done a lot of blog articles and stuff, which are all searchable on the internet on our site, but we don't specifically target NC 500. Generally, for our search terms, we're just looking more for people that are looking for campervan or motorhome hire in Scotland, and that's what we try and optimise the website for. So it doesn't matter if you're going to the NC 500 or if you're going to Skye or if you're going to Dumfries and Galloway. We want you to come and visit our website and see our product. Where you take the van then's up to you.
Excellent. I'll just ask one final question and then I'll open it up to anyone that wants to mentally prepare for some of your questions. So we always ask, and this is one of Chris's favourite questions, we always ask for a little bit of advice for the audience based on your experience and based on everything that you've managed to accumulate in the tours industry. Is there anything that you would like to impart to the audience?
Yeah, there's probably two things I would say from a marketing perspective. I probably realised a bit too late the advantages of getting other people to do things. So I was very much tried to do everything myself, and I think that was detrimental in some ways to growth. So, without blowing smoke up you guys, someone like the Tourism Marketing Agency is a great company to deal with, because they'll take a lot of that burden off you, and things like Google AdWords, Facebook ads, website optimization, all that stuff. I just purely don't have the time or, frankly, the inclination for it. So getting these guys to do that was great. I suppose purely from a practical perspective, if you're going to think about getting into the campervan rental business or the vehicle rental business, I would very much preach the benefits of building alliances with your competitors, because it's a small industry, certainly here in Scotland. It's very useful to have other companies that you can work with if you're ever short of capacity, or if you have a breakdown, or the last thing you want to do is let a customer down. So I've always found it very good to work with other companies, and I think when you do that, you get that back in spades as well. So
Yeah, it's a two-way street for that one.
I think that's probably two things I'd advise people.
Excellent. Have we got anyone for any questions?
I actually have two, but the first one, just off of that, you were mentioning earlier about infrastructure being a problem, and when you're talking about collaborating with other companies who are doing similar things, are you joining together and trying to lobby for changes? Have you talked to the government and tried to improve infrastructure?
Yeah, so what we've got is about a group of about 8 or 10 of our rental companies now, called under an umbrella group called CAMPA, CAMPA. And it's the Campervan and Motorhome Professional Association. What we're trying to do is get an industry set of, an industry standard set of guidelines that rental companies can issue to customers with regards to what they should be doing, how they should be driving, areas that they can visit, and do's and don'ts. So that's what we do on the customer side of things. But as an industry group as well, we're trying to speak to Scottish Government, Scottish Tourism Alliance, and just highlight the need for infrastructure investment, particularly things like waste facilities, stopping places for vans, charging points, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a growing kind of lobby group, but it's taken a few years to get there. Yeah.
Can I ask a second question too?
Sure.
So since you were mentioning like driving do's and don'ts, hi, I'm American. Do you have American drivers coming over, and is that a market that you guys are actually looking for? Because having worked with a lot of American tourists coming over here, they're very hesitant to drive in this country, given that it's the other side and there's rules they don't understand. Single track lanes, they have no clue what those are. We have 5-lane highways. I mean, it's so different that they're quite intimidated. And is that even a market that you're looking at?
Yeah, American market it's not huge for us, but it makes up probably about 5% each year of my hires. So we'll probably do 20 to 30 American clients each year. I've invested in automatic transmission vans, so
We thank you.
so that's good. I mean, driving on the left's a problem for 90% of the world, unless you're from the UK or Australia or Cyprus. So I don't find it a huge problem, but I do get what you understand. A lot of American clients don't want to drive, but we do get a lot that do. We have relatively few problems, to be honest.
We hitched a ride with an American couple who just hired a car in St Andrews, and they went on the pavement by accident. And I was just sitting
Good
there
start.
like,
Quite terrifying. Quite terrifying.
So, like, when does your fleet get damaged, and how do you deal with damaged fleet when there's a rental going out the next day, maybe?
Yeah, it does. It does get damaged. You know, we probably replace about 40 or 50 wing mirrors each year. 20 or 30 bumpers. 20 or 30 bumpers, rear bumpers, side skirts. Yeah, it does, but it's just a risk of business in this industry. And
So I understand it's chargeable,
uh-huh.
but when you have such a quick turnover, like, do you have a mechanic on hand, or?
Me. No, we've got a couple of guys work for us that we've got all that stuff down fairly quickly now that we can turn it round. Unless it's fairly major, we can turn the van round in a few hours so that it's presentable and ready to go back out. Quite often we'll need to put a van out kind of semi-patched up, if you know what I mean. I don't mean mechanically; it would always be sound mechanically and road legal.
Yeah.
But you've maybe had to patch up a bumper or whatever, and then when you've got a bit of time, you'll need to take that van off the road for a couple of days and do a proper repair on it. But no, we've got quite good at that over the years, but unfortunately it's just a risk of business, unfortunately.
And what happens when a van breaks down on the road?
Well, I try and keep my fleet very new, so everything kind of under 2 years, so everything's covered under breakdown cover. So on the rare occasions we do get a breakdown, someone will attend and generally fix it. If it can't be fixed, we'll try and source another van from somewhere, which kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, kind of building alliances with other companies that can help you out if you've got any issues like that.
And when your van's 2 years old, do you flip it? Do you sell them on? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got a location at Glasgow Airport, is that right?
Yeah, head office is at Glasgow Airport.
Are you booking right
And we do. Our head office is at Glasgow. We'll do pickups and drop-offs at Edinburgh Airport, up to Aberdeen and Inverness as well.
Is that where you find your customers are? They want to take it straight from the airport? And
Generally, yeah.
Not to go in the city?
A lot of customers now will come, maybe spend a day or two either at the beginning in Glasgow or Edinburgh and then pick up a van, or arrive, take the van away and then spend a night or two in Glasgow or Edinburgh at the end.
We got a hired camper van in Texas, and the address was like a neighbourhood. And when we went, the key was in a padlocked, it's a lockbox.
Like a key safe.
Around the van, and we were like, this is like Airbnb, like for an actual camper van.
Yeah.
And we were really surprised that it wasn't a one-to-one. Cause I used to work here for Rent-A-Car, so very much like face-to-face rental, so I was very surprised that was what I was renting. This wasn't told that's what's going to happen. But when you say that you'd apply to everything individually and you still try and maintain that customer service aspect, is there any reason why you've not moved towards just a lock, a key and a lock, I suppose?
Yeah, I think there's just too much can go wrong with that, to be perfectly honest. I mentioned that the kind of Airbnb for camper vans is springing up now, but...
Is that what you're doing?
Well, you do occasionally see them on Airbnb, but there's other platforms like Camp2, Camplify, Outdoorsy. These are all just platforms where if you have a van sitting in your driveway, you can advertise that for rental. Now, as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's too much regulation in terms of how these vans are monitored for roadworthiness. Yeah. Are you properly insured? I really don't know. I think there's a lot of grey areas there. So I think people will hire from these companies, but I think there's potentially quite a few pitfalls.
Let's see if we've got a few other questions in the audience. Let's see a few hands.
What have been the challenges of the shift to electric vehicles, or upcoming shift to electric vehicles for you as a company?
Just lack of infrastructure so far. If you look at the map of all the charging points of Scotland, there's huge clusters of them around Glasgow, Edinburgh, Stirling. Once you start to go out of the central belt, those charging points are few and far between. and obviously for a camper van, which is people want to go and do a complete circle of Scotland, typically they'll do 700 or 800 miles in a week. It's really a lack of infrastructure and charging point, and a lack of suitable vehicles, electric vehicles at the moment, which can be converted to camper vans. The only little vans that have got a decent range on them just now are like the little Nissan NV200 vans. They'll do about 150 miles, but you know, they're really quite a small van. You only get a maximum of 2 people in those. So for a family that wants to go out in a motorhome, you really still need unfortunately, a diesel van.
How receptive have you found the Scottish Government and Scottish Tourism Alliance in terms of, sorry, sneaking in that sector, but in terms of you know, making improvements to infrastructure? Because I think in 2017 there was like a £6 million rural tourism infrastructure fund, 3 million per year effectively, so spread over 2 years, so relatively speaking a drop in the ocean. So I was just wondering how receptive they've been to some of the concerns you've raised.
I think they've just got so many competing voices. You know, each of the individual regions now have their own little umbrella groups representing the regions, whether it be Angus or Skye or Highlands and Islands, and everyone's looking for money for all the things that I talked about: road improvements, facilities for camper vans, waste facilities. I mean, even places in the Highlands and Islands are shutting their public toilets and things at the moment. It's not good for the industry. It's not good for tourism. Even if you're out in a car or whatever, you'd expect some of those basic facilities to be there. So there needs to be a lot more done, really, a lot more. Double, treble. It's a huge industry, tourism now, and I think going forward we're well beyond being a manufacturing economy now. We're a lot of service economy, and obviously agriculture and whiskey and stuff like that, but tourism's a huge part of the economy now, and I think it needs a lot more investment.
Frank?
Just a question on your audience and seasonality more to the point. I mean, I guess most of your business is done in the sort of the May, June, July, August, September period. And so I was listening to a guy from, I think, Highlands Tourism or Highlands Lands Council talking about Skye and the completely overcrowded situation they have during those months. How much business do you do outside of those key months, like in terms of the spring and autumn winter period, which I would have thought was a great opportunity for visiting those areas?
It is, yeah.
Although it's cold and wet, it can't be worse than the summer in a lot of cases.
The season has really extended even since I set up 12 years ago. So really, when I started, you were kind of mid-April to mid-September. But now really, we start to get busy from early March, and we're busy till the beginning of November. So it's at least 8 months. What I tend to do over the winters, take a few of maybe half of my fleet off-road and just lay them up for the winter, and I'll keep some vans available to be rented over the winter, and we will get some business out of that between November and February. December you can pretty much write off, and January too, but November we can still see some reasonable business in November, and February as well, particularly if we have a good snow season, and the skiing and the hill walking and stuff like that. So yeah, in a good year, if we get a good summer and a cold winter with a bit of snow, then we could be almost a 10-month season. Yeah.
Andy, how many vans are you actually running, and how many staff do you have to run the fleet?
This year I've got 19 on the road, and I've got 1 full-time staff member, 2 seasonal part-time guys that come in during the summer, and then I've got an outside company which comes in and does all my cleaning and valeting and my laundry. Advantage of that is that only pay for that as I use them. So during the winter, I don't have that cost over the winter. So yeah, in terms of one full-time staff member and 2 part-time staff over the summer.
That's a great ratio, isn't it? A low ratio
Uh-huh.
to the, yeah.
It's primarily an owner-operated business, really, if you're going to do it properly and try and make some money at it. There's obviously a lot of capital tied up in the investment in the vehicles. So once you start employing 4, 5, 6 people, your returns are going to diminish rapidly. So you have to be prepared to work at it yourself.
The majority of companies that I've looked at, we've bought our first van to convert. I'm predominantly a travel blogger, but I'm now based in Scotland.
Okay.
And so now we're converting our first van with the view that potentially moving on to having a bigger fleet. The majority of websites I come across through Google, through SEO, they're just flipping. So really the main brand is about making the vans and then selling the vans on. Like, how easy is it to then, after the 2 years that you've got them, to move them on? Or is that not really your business plan? Are they predominantly for renting?
Well, we need to reinvest in our fleet every couple of years, so we have to move vans on. So we have to buy models that will sell after 2 years. So that means buying established brands, because that's what people want. So when I go to sell my vehicles in 2 years' time, I want someone that's in the market for a second-hand van that recognises that brand immediately and knows it's a quality vehicle, and they'll buy it from you. So
the investment's at the start when you buy the van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we had another.
I was just going to ask a bit more, if you could tell us a bit more about your marketing. Is it mostly online that you're doing, or what other?
100% really, yeah. Yeah.
And you're using an agency?
These guys, tourism marketing agency.
Total embarrassing situation.
Yeah, but I did a lot of that myself. It was up till 2 years ago. As I say, I just found it too much. Trying to run Google AdWords, which I never fully understood. Facebook ads, social media. It's just too much. So no, I take advice from these guys. Obviously got my own inputs on what we do and when we do it. But it's much easier to hand that over to these guys. So, for instance, in June, if I've got some spare capacity, I have a look at my diary and say, okay, we need to try and fill up the next 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe do a special offer, put it out on our social media channels, do a Google AdWords campaign, put it on Facebook. But I'll get these guys to do that for me.
I was surprised when you said that only about 5% of your customers are from America, because I would have thought that would have been your biggest market.
We're scared of driving over
I
here.
definitely don't like to drive in the
Tours.
UK. Yeah.
And if they drive, they will try and get the smallest car possible.
Yeah.
Well, in my experience, that's what they try, because they know
Campervans are
that
intimidating.
Because I actually passed my test in America and only drove in America.
Oh, it's so much easier
I
over
came
there.
back here and I was terrified to drive.
Yeah, it's so much easier over there. That's why we're intimidated.
But I would have thought it was a big camper van or something.
Oh, Kathy.
Yeah, can I ask who is your main audience then? Who are your clients? Like, what age range are they? Where do they come from? What is their kind of relationship to campervan tourism? Like, yeah.
We've got a really good spread because we've got a real range of vans that we offer. So we've got a family range of vans. So typical family setup would be 2 adults, anywhere between 1 and 3 kids. They would want a larger motorhome. They probably incorporate about 50% of our market. And then we've got...
Are they mostly in the UK?
No, we get a lot of European, mainland Europe. France, Germany, Italy, Spain. These are all really established markets for camping and caravanning already, so it's a thing for them, they do it.
We don't drive manuals though in America,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
true.
like
And they're used to small roads as well.
yeah, we're
There's
not. We don't know which
motorcycle
single track
cycles
lanes
over,
are.
so-
We don't know.
Have you seen the RVs? They're bigger than the houses.
Oh
The
yeah.
RVs carry the cars
Your
in Texas.
campervans look like they could fit inside our cars.
Yeah, they do. There is an RV in America.
But there's plenty of small roads in America and Canada, isn't there?
Yeah.
5-lane highways, so it's, you either can drive it or you can't, in my opinion.
Yeah,
There's some roads I've driven in Cornwall, and even I go, Jesus.
You know, even the
Europe all the time.
you think about even you're familiar with the 82 up the side of Loch Lomond,
Yes.
right? So I just put a bill, get a huge map in our office. And we've just got a big red line through that road, and we take our customers and we point at that and we say, "Don't go up this road." Simple as that. It doesn't matter where you're from. You drive, you know, the logging lorries and the buses come down there, and it's an A road supposedly, but you know, you can hardly squeeze, you know, two minis past each other at points on it.
Yeah.
So, so that there is difficulties in some of the Scottish roads for sure.
I think there was a.
Going back to the marketing aspect, so you said about, you know, you can see that you need to fill bookings in June, so 10% off or whatever. Do you use third-party websites? Do you use TripAdvisor, Booking.com, all these guys, or not?
No, and I've steered.
Your 10% to anybody, quite right.
And now I've deliberately, I deliberately steered clear as well from the very start of things like Itazon and what was the other voucher one?
Yeah.
Because I think as soon as you start devaluing your product to that degree, you destroy your domestic market, because they say, well, I saw that for half price, so I'm just going to wait for it to be half price again. So I would caution you against that if you were thinking about it.
So you're not on TripAdvisor at all?
We're on TripAdvisor, yeah, but purely for reviews.
Yeah, for TripAdvisor, if you're a multi-tour, for example, you can't register, so it's got to be the day tours if you're actually booking on the platform.
But it's a double-edged sword anyway, TripAdvisor, isn't it? Makes it too easy for people that are slightly peeved.
We've got a really big database now, so just because we've been going for 12 years, so you know, for that kind of example, we would just be putting a mail out to all the we know all the clients that are from the UK. Those are the ones that would maybe be likely to book an offer for the next couple of weeks, because you know it's close for them. So quite often we'll just put out a 20% last minute offer, and then a couple of days later you've pretty much filled all those spots you had. So it works quite well that way.
Any other questions?
You mentioned that you had mostly mainland Europeans coming in, so do you do multilingual marketing as well, or are you strictly doing English and just hoping that there'll be English speakers coming in?
Google Translate.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would that be helpful if you had other languages?
Very possibly, yeah. Spanish in particular, I think. Yeah, that would be the one that I would probably look at. We've got a lot of customers from Spain.
Shower or no shower?
Both. Showers in our motorhomes, none in our
she's just going to
campers.
sneak in.
I like this in all walks of life. No, I asked my own personal Facebook, like shower or no shower, because I've got lots of van life friends and stuff, and it was very mixed as well, the answer whether to have a
Whether they
shower or
wanted
not.
one or not, yeah. But we got a lot of people that will just take a little camper and they'll just dive in a loch every morning, have a quick swim, and
Frank, have you got
play
another
them.
one?
One last question. Your market, is it mostly 7 and 14-day tours that people book, or is it 3-day? Well, I'm really driving is there, Chris was talking about people booking day tours and stuff like that when they're in the location. So if you're in Glasgow, you will book a day tour or an overnight stay somewhere. Do you find that you get anything like, is there any contact from hotels and people requesting, we have guests
Occasionally.
staying and they want to do the weekend?
Very occasionally, but it's more of a holiday that people plan a bit in advance. So you know, generally even up to a year in advance we'll get bookings. Very occasionally we get last minute stuff like that, but not too often. And we work on a 3-night minimum hire. It's really not worth it doing it for anything else. You can take the van out for one night if you want, but you'll need to pay a 3-night hire charge. Otherwise it's kind of pointless.
I think from something you said earlier, you're turning them around in that day. You're having vans coming in and out in the same day. Did you always do that, or did you?
Yeah, generally, yeah. Because particularly during the summer, a day off the road is a couple of £100, and if you've got 5 or 6 vans coming back and sitting for a day when they could be turned around, just employ more staff to clean them and get them going again.
Excellent. Well, I think we've had quite a few questions there, so people can come up and ask Andy later as well. But thank you very much, Andy. Absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.